What's up everybody, how's it going? It's Burke, aka Dansweight here, and welcome to a finale episode of Silent Hill 2 Remake. In this one, I will be watching through the endings of the game and reacting to them and trying to see if it helps me piece together a little bit more about the story and what happened in this game, well, what could have happened in this game. First of all, I want to say thank you guys so much for your support on this series. It's been one of those where it got off to a pretty slow start. If I'm being honest, I was a little bit disappointed. I had hoped for a little bit of a better start for the series. But I think the retention for this one has been really good. Like the people that did actually get into it and start watching it, they really follow through and they got quite invested. And I had more people asking me about this series, like relative to the views than I have had for a lot of series that have got a lot more views. It has found more of an audience than I thought, and there's a lot of people who don't know the story like myself, who really got invested and really were itching to find out more. So thank you so much for all of that support and for sticking with the series and hopefully enjoying your first experience with Silent Hill 2 Remake. And what I wanted to do was to end things off with an episode like this. Now, I finished recording maybe like 6 weeks ago, and I haven't really seen anything from the game since. I was done with editing, and I wanted to sort of let things sink in a little bit, and then now I can watch the endings and see what else could have happened in this story. So what I've done is, obviously there's plenty of videos on YouTube that literally have all of the endings back to back. I'm literally going to watch it, and I'm going to basically react to it, and you guys will get to see it too, and we'll see what else could have happened in this story. So let's go for it. So the first ending we have is the one that I actually got in the playthrough, called the Leave ending. Because I've already shown it in the playthrough, I'm kind of talking over it. If you want to see the uninterrupted ending and you haven't been following the playthrough, definitely check the previous episode. That's where you'll find it. And for me, of course, there was this whole situation as time went on. We really found out more about Mary's condition and the fact that it seemed to be terminal. They were kind of doing everything to try to potentially help her, to get her out of this situation, to help her recover. But it wasn't working, and she was suffering throughout. And there was an element both of Mary wanting this to kind of all be done and all be over. She kind of basically had given up the will to live because of what she was going through. And there is an element of James kind of resenting the fact that this happened to Mary. The situation was so horrible from his perspective too. Obviously never as horrible as it would have been for Mary, but it's understandable to some extent that he would feel like his life had also been robbed, because they looked like they had a happy, wonderful relationship together, but it was taken away by this cruel, like, disease, illness, whatever it is, and James also had to bear the burden of that. And so, at one point there was this whole, did James actually kill her? Did he kind of, this resentment and this kind of hatred of the situation that sort of manifested in his feelings towards Mary, did this kind of all go over the edge and he basically killed Mary to end it all? Then I was thinking, did Mary basically want him to do it? He kind of euthanized her, more so than he kind of, against her will to some extent, killed her to end it. So those are the kind of things that were swirling around in my head. And then of course we had this ending. In the end, he leaves Silent Hill, hence the ending is called Leave. Again, it was like, okay, he leaves Silent Hill, but then it begs the question, what was the Silent Hill that we played in this game? So many obviously surreal and like metaphysical things happened that it's obviously not a completely real representation of Silent Hill. And so was this all entirely taking place like within his mind? Was this kind of completely in his mind, or was it more of a, this is the game's version of some kind of purgatory thing, like after you die? So James has been dead all along, he's been dead from the start. Maybe he took his own life after what happened, and this was him kind of just searching for answers and trying to find a way to move on from what happened in his life and what happened with Mary. And Mary kind of in this sort of purgatory in his mind, finally giving him the sort of the license almost to just move on, put it behind him, and that he needs to let this go. And that's kind of, those were the type of feelings that were swirling around my head. It didn't feel to me like he literally physically made it out of Silent Hill, because that would mean that everything we kind of experienced in Silent Hill was potentially real. Even if some elements of it were just obviously a twisted image of it through James's mind. Obviously, if he's literally really leaving Silent Hill, it means he did spend an entire game there and encountered all of these things. That would obviously ask a question of, was it like completely abandoned, this town, and he kind of walked through an abandoned, isolated town and he saw all of this shit that wasn't there, or some other thing happened. So that's why I still had a lot of questions in my head about what happened even after I finished. But they're all interesting questions, and part of what I wanted to do was see the other endings and see where we are as a result. So that's what I'm going to do. This was the kind of the escape ending, and we'll see what the other options were and what they mean for the story. This is the second ending. Never seen this one before.
I miss you so much. I tried. I really did, but I can't. I just can't go on without you. I can't forgive myself for what I've done. I know this isn't what you would want. But I guess it doesn't matter anymore. You're not here. Are you?
In my restless dreams, I see that town. Silent Hill. You promised you'd take me there again someday. But you never did. Well, I'm alone there now. In our special place. Waiting for you to come and see me. But you never do. So, I wait, wrapped in my cocoon of pain and loneliness. I know, I've done a terrible thing to you. I wish I could change that, but I can't. I feel so pathetic and ugly laying here. Every day I stare up at the cracks in the ceiling, and all I can think about is how unfair it is. The doctor came today. Told me I could go home for a short stay. It's not that I'm getting better. It's just that this could be my last chance. Even so, I'm glad to be coming home. I missed you so much. But I'm afraid, James. I'm afraid you don't really want me to come home. Every time you come to see me, I can tell how hard it is on you. I don't know if you hate me or pity me. Maybe I just disgust you. I'm so sorry. When I first learned I was gonna die, I couldn't accept it. I was so angry. I struck out at everyone I loved. Especially you. And that's why I understand if you hate me. But I want you to know, I will always love you. Even though our life together had to end like this, I still wouldn't trade it for the world. Well, this letter has gone on too long, so I'll say goodbye. I told the nurse to give this to you after I'm gone. Which means that as you're reading this, I'm already dead. But that's okay. I'm not afraid of it anymore. I just hope the pain will end soon. So that you remember me for who I was. And not what the disease made me. I want you to go on. I want you to live. For yourself. And for others. Like you did for me. James. You made me happy.
Oh man, that's a heavy one. Okay, so for each one I'm going to kind of pause and obviously say some words about it. If you just want to skip to whatever the next ending is, I'll probably use timestamps in this one to make it easier for you guys if you don't want to hear my thoughts on it, or you just want to watch them all back to back first. But yeah, that one is definitely darker. Like, James obviously does kill himself, so that lends more credence to the fact that he wasn't already dead at the start. But again, for me at least, again, at this point I've not read up anything. I'm just watching these and just reacting to them. I haven't chatted about the endings with anyone, about what they mean and what was real and what wasn't real and all that kind of stuff. But obviously the fact that the letter's basically the same and James still ends up kind of going against Mary's wishes and killing himself obviously makes it kind of doubly sad. But I think it further reinforces just how well directed those scenes were, because there were a few little things in the game where I was a little bit like, the acting seemed a little bit wooden or is a little bit weird, but when they really want to pull at your heartstrings a little bit, like the way that Mary reads the letter, the voice acting for the letter reading, and the scene with James in the car before he drives off the bridge, like that's really solid stuff. Like the atmosphere that's created, the music, the work that everyone does on those scenes, I think is really, really good. And it all kind of makes for, I think, emotionally kind of evocative scenes. So yeah, that one is called the In Water ending. And for these, I think to kind of help the viewer and myself, I have kind of pulled up a guide on how to get each one of these, because I think it's kind of interesting. Here is what they say about how to get the Silent Hill 2 Remake In Water ending. In Water is another common ending, as its main trigger is also linked to James's health. You essentially need to play the game like James does not value his own life. So waiting a long time to heal, preferably when the screen has been red for a while, is the best way you can consistently work towards this ending. So that's kind of curious, because it's not really... That's pretty vague, man. Like, the chances of getting that ending, like, I could have got that ending because I was trying to be efficient with my healing. It wasn't about not valuing my life, it was just doing my best to kind of not overheal. But apparently it almost led me towards the In Water ending. So that's one element of it. So there's some bullet points here. It says, wait as long as possible before healing. It says, pick the man coin at the end of the coin cabinet puzzle. That's interesting. Examine Angela's knife at least twice. Listen to Mary's entire sickbed speech in the long corridor near the very end of the game. Do not check on Maria at the hospital or the labyrinth cell. As we've said, it's possible that the coin choice at the end of the coin cabinet puzzle in Woodside Apartments doesn't affect the ending, but as you can pick from any of the three, it's best to pick a coin that might help you get the In Water ending, just in case. So those are some of the points, and I guess when you see it like that, you can kind of see why I also didn't get it. So one of the things that would have resulted in it, I did actually end up doing, but not enough to get the In Water ending. I'm kind of glad, like, that ending's just... In that sense, I think it's worse. I don't think there's many particularly great endings here, but I think that one was probably worse. So let's move on to the next one. That's ending number 2, In Water. This is the Maria ending. Let's have a look. She gives him the letter.
What is this?
Is what you've been looking for.
Let's go.
I mean, Maria basically wasn't real, so if he drives off with Maria, then I guess you can escape while it is also not real at the same time.
Better do something about that cough.
Wow, what is that it? It just ends like that? Different music as well. Okay. So, I guess for this one, let me just see if there's anything more to it. Hold on. Doesn't seem like there's anything more to it. I guess for that one, it's kind of a bit of a... I don't know, like he kind of almost rejects the idea of Mary dying. And he tries to kind of go on without acknowledging the fact that that's happened. And he tries to kind of make it all right by placing Maria there instead of Mary. So that was a little bit more of a weird ending. Let's see what the guide has to say about it. In our experience, Maria is the most difficult ending to get in the Silent Hill 2 remake unless you've already got the leave and in water. This is because it's not linked to health, so even if you give Maria all of the attention you need to help get her ending, your healing tactics are likely to give you leave or in water instead. Due to this, we recommend you unlock these regular endings first before attempting the Maria ending. Yeah, this one I was not going to get. These are the bullet points apparently to get the Maria ending in Silent Hill 2. Pick the woman coin at the end of the coin cabinet puzzle. If separated from Maria, unlock a door to reunite with her as soon as possible. Follow Maria to Jack's Inn immediately after leaving Rosewood Park with her. Stick to the critical path until you enter Brookhaven Hospital. Check on Maria multiple times at the hospital, at least after finding the marked bracelet to trigger a cutscene. Check on Maria multiple times while she's in the labyrinth cell and try to enter her cell again after she dies. Don't let Maria take damage. Don't smash any glass around Maria unless necessary. Don't bump into Maria too much. Don't examine Mary's letter, photo, or handkerchief. So there's no, like, Mary, you're trying your best to kind of, like, she doesn't exist. Don't examine Angela's knife. Don't bring your personal items into the employee elevator at Lakeview Hotel. Don't listen to Mary's entire sickbed speech in the long corridor near the very end of the game. So, yeah. I mean, that's a particularly interesting one. Yeah, I guess, as I say, I mean, surely it's just him trying his best to kind of not acknowledge and reject the entire situation with Mary and projecting Maria, who is obviously a version of Mary who's supposed to not be suffering from what she's suffering from. And then the cough at the end, I guess, is kind of a bit of a big giveaway there that, like, it's basically her and, like, he can't escape his fate kind of thing. And I think that's why they kind of end it on that a little bit. So... yeah, definitely more of an interesting ending and very hard to get. Like, there's absolutely no way you're going to get that unless you know that's what you need to do. So that's interesting. Next up, we have the dog ending. So we have this dog key, apparently. So let me play that one back. The timestamps here are a little sketch, so I'm just trying to make sure I get the right thing. So, yeah, we'll see. Maybe they get, like, increasingly silly now. It's basically either leave or in water as the main endings. And they get increasingly kind of surreal or silly or even joke ending. We'll see how it goes. Dog ending next. Yeah, okay.
Fuck our shit.
I think they have the Japanese one, IGN, here. They didn't get it themselves, for God's sake. I can't bother to find another video. Oh my god. It's a joke ending anyway, so we'll let it ride. He's cute though. I think this is the best ending of the bunch. Okay. This one I've got to read. The music. That's hilarious. Okay, let's find out what the hell that was. You need to play on New Game Plus to get the dog ending. If you are, then you need to get the dog key and use it in the observation room in Lakeview Hotel to go and see Silent Hill's real mastermind. However, this time the dog key is split into 2 broken key parts in the remake, so you have to find and combine them. So yeah, the first part is inside the pet center in East South Vale, and the second part is accessible after exploring the west side of South Vale after going through the gate at Jack's Inn with Maria. Once you have both of the broken key parts, you unlock the observation room on the 3rd floor, and that's what you do. So, I mean, okay, not much to say about that ending. The next one is called the UFO ending, so I think, again, it's going to be one of the funny ones, so let's have a look. Let's see if it's Japanese as well. It's so random that it was Japanese. Definitely showing more of the musical versatility here with these extra kind of silly endings. Is that it? Okay. He's meeting the OG version himself. Space James, I'm the real you. True, you've been a clone this whole time. But now it's time to come home. What the hell? For a game that can be so emotional and like tough, the fact that they have these endings as well is pretty hilarious. Finally, all is as it should be. Finally, we can be together. Okay, I did not have this ending on my bingo card. I thought there were like 8 fairly serious endings, just like increasingly brutal. Mary. It's not short either, like this has been like a couple of minutes. Okay, Finn. Finally finned. What on earth? Very well. There's your UFO ending. So, you need to play the new game on New Game Plus. Then you need to pick up the blue gem and use it at 4 unique locations to see the very unique alien-themed short film to unlock the UFO ending. The blue gem is located in the window of the jeweler store in East South Vale, just north of Big J's building, and the pet center where you can find the first broken key part. Once you have the blue gem, investigate it from the main menu at these 4 locations to get the UFO ending. 1 at the rooftop of Saul Street Apartments in East South Vale while standing beside the eye symbol printed in the vent. to the western pier of Rosewood Park where you meet Maria while standing beside the sign with the eye symbol printed behind it. Yeah, these are really specific. The docks of Lakeview Hotel while standing where you got off the boat after crossing Toluca Lake. And number 4, in room 312 of Lakeview Hotel, the same room where you watched the videotape. As long as you investigated the blue gem at the previous 3 locations, you automatically unlock the UFO ending. And so, yeah, that's another very obscure New Game Plus kind of ending. Now, the one that I'm interested in most from here on is the one that's actually called the Rebirth ending. Because this one obviously doesn't sound jokey or silly or Easter egg or whatever. This might be, I don't know if this was in the original, if this has been added for the remake, but Rebirth, obviously, based on what we've seen of the game, could be a very interesting one. So let's watch the Rebirth ending.
Mary. You look so peaceful. Forgive me for waking you. But without you, I just can't go on. This town, Silent Hill. The old gods haven't left this place. And they still grant power to those who venerate them.
Okay.
Power to defy even death. Mary.
Oh, is that it? No! Damn you, game. Shit, man. Yeah, I guess they don't want you to really know. And that's such a, it seems like such a bloody Silent Hill thing. I think almost all the questions I've been asking up until this point, I don't think you're supposed to really have a definitive answer for them. So that was actually a really intriguing premise. And obviously you have no idea what actually happened afterwards. Shit. Okay. What does it say? It says you need to play a New Game Plus, of course. You need to pick up 4 new items and have them in your inventory at the end of the game to automatically unlock Rebirth. Okay, as long as you have these 4 items at the end, you will always unlock the Rebirth ending no matter what choices you made before. So the 4 items are the Crimson Ceremony. Ah, this is the thing that I actually walked up to and picked up where I was like, wait a minute, I missed this the first time. It's a New Game Plus item. So it's in the graveyard where you meet Angela for the first time. Then you find something called the White Chrism. It's located on the table outside of Baldwin Mansion in the west side, South Vale, which you can access after going through the gate Jack's Inn with Maria. You need the Obsidian Goblet. It's located inside a nook in the Historical Society in west side, South Vale, which you can access after finding the Historical Society key at Rosewood Park after completing the Brookhaven Hospital area. And the last one, Lost Memories. Lost Memories is found on a shelf in the Lost and Found room in Lakeview Hotel 1 on the first floor. You can get into here by breaking the wall in Cafe Toluca. So yeah, I mean, an interesting one. Like, I'd love to have obviously known what happens afterwards there. That's kind of cool. So let's continue. I think we have 1 or 2 more endings left here. The next one is called the Stillness ending. And we're back here.
I tried. I really did, but I can't go on without you. I can't forgive myself for what I've done.
I know. What's wrong, honey?
I am so sorry.
It's okay.
Will you wait for me?
James. I've always been waiting for you.
He decides not to read it this time. This time he just drives off, I assume. Not off the bridge. Oh no. He does. He still does. This is like the in-water ending. Sheesh, man. So I guess it's like the in-water ending, but this time he's kind of found more of an internal peace before he does what he does. I guess he's kind of found a little bit of a redemption maybe before that. So the letter doesn't get read here. And it ends like that. That's pretty interesting. This one I felt like maybe it was the one where, obviously because of what Mary says, he kind of realizes that he kind of finally forgives himself a bit for the situation, forgives Mary a little bit, and maybe he finds that stillness, like that peace in his soul to kind of move on. But obviously then afterwards the whole like driving off and off the bridge again, that doesn't sound great. So maybe he found that peace, but now he's ready to basically go to her and kill himself in the process. So maybe that's that. Let's have a look at the Stillness ending. Stillness is one of the new endings in Silent Hill Remake. Also, first of all, a word for, again, the delivery of the lines, the facial animation there in that scene where he's like, you can really see the emotion and the way he says, I miss you so much. Like, all of that stuff really hit. Like, that's really, I think, really quality work there again from the team. Those scenes, man, like, they really get me. Like, the work there is excellent, in my opinion. So, let's get back to business. Stillness is one of the new endings in the Silent Hill 2 Remake, but you can only get it on New Game Plus after getting the in-water ending. If you've done this, you need to find the Key of Sorrow to get the Toluca postcard, which triggers the Stillness ending after you investigate the postcard from your inventory. Key of Sorrow is located inside a green car on the north side of Wiltz Road near the beginning of the game. Right after you leave the ranch area, use the chainsaw you find near the ranch and break the car's window to pick up the key. And then the postcard is inside the safe in the manager's office of the Otherworld Lakeview Hotel area. You need to use the Key of Sorrow and 314 code to open the safe and get the postcard. Once you have the Toluca postcard, investigate it in your inventory to automatically get the Stillness ending. Okay, and so that leaves one final ending here, and that is called the Bliss ending. Let's take a look at that, and then we can wrap it all up and end this series. Alright, so we're putting the videotape in. Is he going to see a different tape, I guess, this time? Maybe he gets to see what was truly on the tape. Because it did seem a bit warped.
Are you taping again? Come on. don't know why, but I just love it here. It's so peaceful. You know what I heard? This whole area used to be a sacred place. I think I can see why. It's too bad we have to leave. Promise you'll take me again, James.
I promise.
Come on, we need to finish packing.
Yeah, he's got the torch and everything.
James, honey, did something happen?
Oh, no, it's fine. Everything's fine.
As if it never even happened. Well, that's an interesting one for sure. Pretty sure it'll end like that. Just a fork in the road, and everything could have been so different. Okay, that's it. There's all your endings. So let's have a look at how to get this Bliss ending. It's also a new ending, and of course also New Game Plus. You need to combine the new rusted key and small chest items to get the white Claudia, and then drink the white Claudia before watching the tape inside room 312 to trigger the ending. So the small chest is located inside the tiny enclosed seating area found in northwestern side of the garden in Brookhaven Hospital. And the rusted key is inside the safe at Pete's Boulderama. The code is 1887, which you can find for yourself by picking up the bloody note by a body at the northwestern edge of town near the Historical Society. So that's how you get that ending as well. Well, that was definitely interesting. I'm kind of happy with the ending that I got, honestly. I think that felt like one of the best endings that I could have gotten, really. Like, given what I've seen. There's basically like two kind of joke endings with the UFO and the dog, like the Easter eggy silly endings. But the rest of them are all like some kind of variation of, well, two of them in water, and Stillness still ends with James quote unquote killing himself. So that seems like it can't be great. Then you have a really mysterious one with the Rebirth ending. And then you have the Bliss ending as well, where I think obviously they're a little more ambiguous about what happened. And then you have the Maria ending, which I guess in that sense, the Maria ending, he kind of still makes it out in that sense. Like, he makes it out with this version of Mary/Maria, but he does make it out, it seems. So the only endings where you kind of know that he makes it out is literally obviously the escape, like leave ending. And probably the Maria ending. The other ones you kind of don't know. Like the Rebirth ending, what actually happens there once he sails across, no one knows. Sorry, once he rows across, no one knows. And the Bliss ending, we don't know either. So as I did for Sekiro, funnily enough, what I will do is I will kind of just Google some interpretations of these endings. And I'll kind of have a quick read and share with you guys what some people more knowledgeable than myself have concluded. And we'll see if there's any kind of consensus or factual presentation of what actually happened at the end of this game, or honestly throughout the whole game. Yeah, I mean, my general feeling, having spent the last minute or two just looking at a couple of Reddit things, is that there definitely seems to be like a lot of speculation, as in it doesn't seem to be like some people coming out saying, hey guys, this is the ending. It seems to be like this is my interpretation of it, and some people are like, yeah, I really like that, and some people being like, I have a different thing. So for example, someone on Reddit has posted Silent Hill 2 Leave ending explanation. Hey, so I just finished the game and got the Leave ending of Silent Hill 2 Remake, and I don't really understand the ending, where he got the letter that Mary is dead but he killed her, ? Then, for example, some of the replies here. Silent Hill is super ambiguous, so it's hard to get a definite answer on things. I've always interpreted it as the town's influence somehow brought him the letter, or maybe he never even got to read it at all. It's just something that we want the players to read, but not James. And then someone says, I think he read it because it is opened and he shows it to Laura in a cutscene. After that, Laura seems to read it too, and we, the players, are getting its contents read by Mary. Then someone said, what I got from it was she has a disease and she treated everyone like crap because of it, which made him hate her, and him being in Silent Hill was a metaphor of their relationship because of it. And then they say, apparently I'm wrong, as seeing as I found this explanation. The Leave ending is a fitting conclusion for James in narrative sense, as it involves him confronting the guilt he carries after his crime against Mary, and coming to terms with his wife's illness and passing at his hands. So I think it seems to be that people are saying that he really did kill her. So when you look for more quote-unquote official explanations of the ending, so for example, like online gaming publications and that kind of thing, a lot of them have they have explanations for the new endings, the 2 new ones, and for the old ones, they seem to be pretty much identical to the original game. So I've had a look at the old one, and we'll start with Leave, and we'll see what this particular article said. So this is an article by thegamer.com. I don't know if they're particularly reliable on this stuff, but Reddit had a lot of just people sharing their opinions, and there didn't seem to be that much of a consensus. I think a lot of people had their own ideas. And so I wanted to kind of just see what a singular point, a single gaming website had to say about it. So it says, in this ending, James confronts the guilt he feels for killing Mary, is able to leave Silent Hill alongside Laura. After Mary's letter, you see them both walking through the graveyard, leaving Silent Hill behind. This ending can be viewed as happy because James puts aside his grief to free himself from Silent Hill and presumably start a new chapter in his life. James has successfully combated his darker thoughts and come out the other side, no longer feeling the need to punish himself. The ending is bittersweet. Although James is free to live his life, Mary can't do the same. So this is kind of very simple, not a very deep analysis, but that's how they've kind of seen it here. The in-water ending, this one's kind of interesting. James is unable to live with his guilt, and despite being punished by the horrors of Silent Hill, he can't forgive himself for his crimes. This ending is only obtainable if James exhibits self-destructive behavior, suggesting he doesn't value his life. The message in Neely's bar also taunts James with eternal damnation, implying that James has given up on reuniting with Mary, as he believes he won't end up in the same place as her when he dies. And that's an interesting detail there as well. Maria ending. If you choose Maria over Mary, James decides to leave Silent Hill with Maria replacing Mary. This ending is a cynical look on James's psyche, as he learns nothing from his experiences at Silent Hill and would rather live a lie than confront the truth of his situation. It also has a sinister implication, as Maria coughs when they're walking in James's car, implying that she might also be suffering from the same illness as Mary. Then James remarks he'd better do something about that cough, suggesting that history may repeat itself. So for me, my interpretation of this was, it is Mary anyway. It's just another manifestation of Mary. Then the article says, is Maria real? In Maria's ending, and Maria in general, raises the question of whether Maria is real or not. Throughout the game, it is implied that Maria isn't a real human being, but instead a manifestation of James' wish to bring Maria back. Okay, realized by the power of Silent Hill. So yeah, that's fine. The Rebirth ending was also in the OG, and the article says, James is unable to live without Mary and therefore hopes to resurrect her using this ancient power. Desperate to reunite with his wife, James chooses to risk involving himself with the gods of Silent Hill rather than laying Mary to rest. You never find out what becomes of Mary and James after he calls on the old gods, but considering James's prior experiences in Silent Hill, it most likely doesn't end well for this couple. Okay. So you have those ones, and then you have the newer explanations, so the 2 new endings. One is by screenrant.com. Let's have a look at the Stillness ending. I think this one's in a little bit more detail here. Silent Hill 2's new Stillness ending is in effect an expansion of the original game's in-water ending. This is the game's most traditional bad ending, in which James is so completely consumed by his grief and guilt that he drives his character to Toluca Lake, drowning himself. This ending can be interpreted variously, but one thing's for certain, it inevitably ends with James's death at his own hands, based on his inability to accept Maria's death and his own role in it. This version of the bad ending has an extra twist, as James receives Mary's forgiveness directly, instead of simply reading her letter at the end of the game. Although they're not quite as eloquently or evocatively phrased, Mary's soothing words in this scene should serve the same purpose as her letter, allowing James to accept his role in her death and leave that chapter of his life behind. But because the guilt is so thorough, Mary's words don't reach him. Stuck in a prison of his own making, James has made up his mind. It seems pretty unlikely that Mary's ghost is actually speaking to James in this scene. It may all be in James's head. Beyond the generic common theme of forgiveness, Mary doesn't sound like herself here. Mary's final words to James in this scene, "I was always waiting for you," more accurately echo the false letter James's guilty psyche dreams up at the beginning of the game, one that lures him back into Silent Hill in the first place. It's more likely, then, that James is simply imagining a conversation with Mary in his final moments and believes he'll be able to return to her side in the afterlife. So I think in terms of James killing himself, maybe the Stillness ending is a little bit more of a I can kill myself and reunite with Mary. And then the more sinister version of that is I'm not going to end up in the same place anyway because I'm just fundamentally a monster because of what I've done. I'm just going to kill myself and, punish myself for what I've done. So maybe that's the two different versions of it, I guess. And then we have the Bliss ending. So this one's more interesting. The Bliss ending is decidedly more cryptic and ends before the final boss. With James watching the tape, he believes Mary left for him in Silent Hill. However, instead of revealing that James smothered Mary, the tape instead shows James's original footage of his and Mary's peaceful vacation in Silent Hill. The main focus of the shot is Mary standing in front of the bright window. Echoing her letter, Mary makes James promise her that they'll return to Silent Hill. And then the implication here seems to be that James has inserted himself into the blissful world of his own happy memories, reuniting with Mary just before her illness began. His distant gaze appears to imply that he maintains some memory of his future past grief, but he brushes it off at the first chance he gets. So this is, in a way, quite similar to the Maria ending, in that it implies that the events of Silent Hill 2 constantly repeat themselves in a breakable cycle. So that is one thing I did see. People did talk about whether or not there is an implication that James is basically stuck in a loop, like almost again like a purgatory kind of thing, and he has to find a way to break free of this kind of cycle of reliving his worst memories and having to face up to what happened between him and Maria. So the article then goes on to say, in light of this ending, Silent Hill 2 takes on a Buddhist tone. There is a Buddhist concept by the name of samsara, which holds that all humans are subject to suffering in an endless cycle of life, death, and reincarnation. Only by ridding oneself of desire can nirvana be achieved, breaking from the miserable cycle, the ultimate goal of Buddhism's Eightfold Path. In a way, that is exactly what James is doing, just on a much smaller level. So that's their take. James is stuck in a cycle of suffering. If it follows the same continuity, beginning with the events shown on the tape, Mary will fall ill shortly after she and James return from their trip. The cycle will then repeat infinitely. Mary will get sick, James will murder her, and he'll return to Silent Hill racked by the guilt to do it all over again. He can only break the cycle by freeing himself of the unrealistic desire to return to Mary's side, which he can only do in the Leave ending. So again, I think what I have figured out from this is that my gut reaction was that Leave is probably the best ending, and it does seem to me like the one that's most directly implying that this is the best ending that could have happened given the circumstances. And so the final bit is which ending is canon, according to ScreenRant.com. And of course they say Silent Hill's canon is foggy by design, which is not a surprise to anybody. More specifically, they say it's hard to say which of Silent Hill 2's endings are canon, even after the remake. James scarcely appears in the rest of the series, except in joke endings where he teams up with aliens to abduct laser protagonists. Okay. Perhaps the most satisfying possible way to view Silent Hill 2, though, is to consider two different endings canon at the same time. James goes through a repetitive loop of the Maria or Bliss endings until he finally learns to accept his role in Mary's death and achieves salvation through the Leave ending. This charts character development over multiple playthroughs, bringing James from a state of all-consuming grief to one of acceptance. It also ends on a hopeful note as he finally escapes Silent Hill. Still, the meanings and canonicity of Silent Hill 2's ending has always been up for debate. That's why there's never been a direct sequel, and why later games in the series keep things intentionally vague. Ultimately, it's up to the players to interpret the endings and decide which makes the most sense in Silent Hill 2 Remake, just as it was in the original. So that's the final word on the endings. And I think for me, what I've learned from doing this is that I really like the whole the Screen Rant's interpretation here. I think is kind of nice. I'm sure plenty of people come up with the same one. But having read them and seen what they are, and the whole repetitive loop thing, which seems like it could be potentially likely, the idea that he does go through some kind of loop between like the Maria and Bliss endings, and that the Leave ending really is like his salvation, I think that seems like at face value it makes sense. I haven't dug any deeper than that, but I like the idea. And for me at least, there was always a bit of a debate in my head about did he really kill Mary or not, because so much of what we see is up for debate, and it's not clear what's real and what isn't. I definitely wasn't too sure. And obviously, like we know that he's experiencing a lot of guilt, but for me, the guilt could also have been the fact that he could still resent her, he could still hate her. He could have potentially abandoned her, you know, like not, you know, fulfilled his promise. And he could have still been basically a horrible, terrible partner to her. And basically, she was already suffering and on her way to an untimely death. And he basically did nothing to help the situation properly, and he probably made it worse. So that could have been like one aspect of it. He could have been feeling guilt over that without having actually murdered her. So the murdering thing could have been a metaphor in my head, like when I was playing the game. Like, he might not have done it with his own bare hands, but he might as well have done it. So that was one interpretation I had. Two, the whole euthanize aspect. Like, I thought maybe Mary was just suffering so much that she wanted someone she loved to put her out of her misery, and he obliged, but then he still felt horrific guilt about the fact that he did, and maybe he shouldn't have done it, and things could have been different, and all of that kind of stuff. So that was my kind of level 2. And then the 3 was that he really did kill her because of everything that happened, and this was him dealing with the guilt and the trauma of having done that. And I think the guilt and trauma of having killed her seems to be the most kind of consensus that we have here. So I'm going to go with that. And obviously a lot of other things also make sense as a result of that. So really interesting stuff. I hope it was fun for you guys as well, especially those of you that don't know the game. And it's definitely one of those where people that have watched this far, that have their own opinions and their own stories and their own things about the endings and their feelings about the game, will definitely share some stuff too. So I'm sure it'd be a fun comment section to read as well, to see maybe some other interpretations and insight from the viewers as well. So once again, thank you so much for everything. I hope you have enjoyed this playthrough. For me, it's one that's going to live long in my memory. Like, Silent Hill 2 was a hell of an experience. Basically, the whole vibe of that game, as much as I both hate and love to use that word, because in my own mind it means so much. I get what I mean when I say vibe, but it can sound very vague to the outside. But this game's vibe and this game's atmosphere and this game's feeling is one I will never forget, and it's not a game that in those terms really has an equal. I've never played anything like it before, and it will probably be a long time before I play anything like it again. So thank you all for joining me. I will see you soon for more non-Final Fantasy games in the future. Definitely want to do a few more other things, but we'll be back into more of the horror genre, I'm sure. You'll just have to wait and see what I decide to do next in the future. So take care, guys. I'll see you soon.